to go ahead and recognize Senator Perry. You're recognized on Senate Bill 295.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, currently when a survivor of sexual assault visits a crisis center, the communications between an advocate and a survivor can be subject to disclosure. In contrast, survivors of domestic violence were granted privileged communication protections in 2017. Senate Bill 295 ensures that any communication or record that is made during the course of a survivor seeking assistance from an advocate shall be kept confidential, and the survivor shall hold the power to determine if that information can be disclosed. Madam Chair, there is a sub.
All right, Senator Johnson sends up the committee substitute Senate Bill 295.
I'll explain the sub at this time. The committee sub adds subsection C to page 5 of the bill. The new language was added at the request of defense attorney stakeholders to ensure that the rules of evidence will govern the disclosure of these communications when an expert relies on them at a trial to form the basis of the expert's opinion. With that, I ask for favorable consideration.
All right, any questions of Senator Perry? All right, we'll open public testimony on the committee substitute to Senate Bill 295 and call up Emilee Whitehurst. And then we're going to have Juliana Gonzalez and then Melissa Rodriguez. Hi, good morning.
Good morning. My name is Emilee Dawn Whitehurst, and I'm the president and CEO of the Houston Area Women's Center. I want to thank you for taking my testimony today regarding Senate Bill 295, which seeks full confidentiality for rape survivors receiving help at crisis centers. The Houston Area Women's Center operates one of the largest rape crisis centers in this state by connecting with survivors of sexual assault through our hotline, by providing individual and group counseling, and by supporting survivors at the hospital in those first critical hours after a sexual assault has occurred. In the wake of the Me Too movement, when so many survivors courageously come forward, you might make the mistake that thinking all survivors are eager to share their story. But let me assure you that the thousands and thousands of survivors we support each year, most of them do not want their story told out loud. And that's because, whether we want to admit it or not, sexual assault is still one of those crimes where we ask, what did she do to deserve that? Or what didn't he do to prevent it? And until that changes, victims don't want their story to belong to anybody but them most of the time. And so I am so happy to be here today because this bill will allow those survivors who courageously step forward to get the help they need from crisis centers like the one in Houston that I so proudly run, to make sure their story is theirs, and that we can guarantee those survivors that their story will remain confidential. Thank you for considering this bill. Thank you, Perry, for drafting it. Thank you for all you do, Senator Huffman. We are proud to serve survivors, and we want their story to belong to them alone. Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Whitehurst, for being here. And I support this bill. Clearly, we're hearing it, and I'm sure it's going to get out of committee and to the Senate floor. I respect 100% what you're saying about the story belongs to the victim, and I agree with you. I just want so badly for women to be empowered enough that they feel like they can publicly tell their story, so that we punish any perpetrator of sexual assault. And that was when I did the sexual assault reporting on campuses, and I know your organization and TASA and so worked a lot with us on that to make sure that we protected the rights of the victim. But that was the whole idea of that legislation is we need to know the numbers. We need to know what's happening, because that in itself, I think, gives women or men, sometimes are victim, of course, the victims, let's call them that, the power and the confidence to feel like I can go public and tell my story. So we have to change the culture. You're right, and I agree with you. And I just want us to try to punish those who commit these crimes against women and men.
And I agree with you. And I want to say that in my experience, it is the process of coming forward to a trusted counselor, like the one that you'll find at a crisis center, which we run, that is that process of empowerment. And when we can guarantee that story will be confidential absolutely. That only encourages that process you're describing.
Good.
I truly believe that. We see that with our domestic violence survivors. They come knowing that this is an absolutely confidential environment, and that only helps them document and account their experience, and that can then, at their discretion, but with the empowerment that they experience at our centers, bring forth the evidence that needed for holding perpetrators accountable, which we must do.
Good. And I'm glad you're working on this, and I'm glad to support this bill and financially support. We're laying out extra money in the budget today for rape crisis centers.
You're here. Yes, thank you
So my
very
rider
much.
giving you another, I forgot, almost $5 million. So we're trying.
I
Trying to
appreciate
give
it.
you the tools you need.
I appreciate it so much. Thank you.